Hello. I just finished watching quite a few YouTube videos where people were sharing their DNA results, showing their mixed ethnicity. And I thought, well, why not? I'll go ahead and put together a little video and do the same thing. Then I got to thinking, well, maybe I could go one step further and do a comparison. And by doing this comparison, maybe somebody out there can answer a question that I have. Not necessarily about my DNA, but my brother's DNA and one of my children. Little background, maybe I should state, since I said I have children, I do have 4 kids and 10 grandkids. And I've had the DNA results completed on all of my children. They are older, they're all married, and their spouses, and many of my grandchildren. So I have a lot of different results, and because of some of the results, it brings up a question that I have that maybe somebody could answer. So a little more on the background. I have been putting together my family tree, working on it since actually since 1965 when I was in the Air Force. So for over 50 years, I've been working on my family tree. Not through DNA. Back then, it was just going to the county courthouses and going to churches and graveyards and uh, just research through paper. Paper, that's the way I was doing it for decades. And then they come up with this DNA thing. So back in 2006, I went ahead and I had my Y DNA tested and my mitochondrial DNA tested. The autosomal wasn't really that great back in 2006, but I did that, and I did learn a little bit on the Y DNA. My father's 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 father, back thousands of years, ends up that my Y DNA is I1, which takes you back to Scandinavia. Uh, Thousands of years ago, I guess around the last ice age. And my mitochondrial DNA, my mother's 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 mother back tens of thousands of years, happens to be H. But that really doesn't tell me much. It doesn't tell me anything about my ethnicity. About a year or so ago, I went ahead and I had my DNA tested through Ancestry.com. And they do the autosomal where they test like 700,000 something. I don't know exactly how it works. But they can give you a breakdown of your ethnicity. So I did that, and I thought that was interesting. No real surprises. Of course, we did have the you are part Native American, like probably most everybody, and I was a little leery of that. And my DNA results proves yes, I do not have any North American or South American or any American. By looking at me, you could guess, I'm pretty sure my ethnicity is European. It's not 100% European, but it's European. A little more background, I did mention I've been working on my ancestry for a little over 50 years. I do know names and dates of all 32 of my great great grandparents. So I've been working at it for a long time. However, when you go back farther than that, it gets into many roadblocks and dead ends, and it's just very difficult. Um, of course, here in being an American, I'm wanting to find who's my immigrant and down each line and who came over from where. Through my research, every line takes me back to the 1600s before I find somebody that was not born here in America. So anyway, let me go ahead and bring up, I'm going to bring it up so I can read it, and I'll just read it to you. A comparison between my brother and myself and our ethnicity mixes. First of all, um, I'm pretty sure you're aware that when you receive your DNA from your parents, you get half from your mother and half from your father. And I'd like to give you just a little example. Let's say my mother is half European Jewish, and half Irish. And let's say my father's the same thing. He's half European Jewish and half Irish. However, I could get from my mother the half Irish, and from my father his half Irish. That would show I'm 100% Irish. My brother could get half of the European Jewish from both our mother and our father. It would show him 100% European Jewish. So my brother and I would be nothing alike. He would be 100% European Jewish, I'd be 100% Irish, but we have the same parents. So that's an extreme. But keeping that in mind, I just want to do a comparison here. I'll tell you what we have between my brother and myself, and this is from Ancestry. So, of course, we're mostly European, 98% European. Both of us are 98% European. Sub-Saharan African, my brother is 2%, and it shows Senegal. I'm 2% African, and it shows Nigeria. This is what I want to ask a question about later, the Nigeria versus the Senegal later, because of my children, not because of my brother and myself. Now, going on, if we look and compare Europe, the 98%, I'll just read through mine first. And I'm mostly European West, 37% European West, which the breakdown would be Germany, France, Netherlands, Belgium, that part of Western Europe. 29% Ireland, Scandinavia, 13%, Iberian Peninsula would be Portugal and Spain, 11%. And then for smaller amounts, Great Britain, 4%. And this is one thing that I thought I would be 80% or 90%, Great Britain. My surname is English. There's like 7 English towns by the name of Farnham. I've actually been over there, and I've been to about 5 or 6 of them. But then I find out when it comes to Great Britain, 4%. Italy, Greece, 3%. Europe East, 2%. So that's my breakdown. And for my brother, Great Britain, now remember I said for Great Britain, I'm 4%. For my brother, 56%. Ireland, 21%. There we're fairly close, 21 and I'm 29. Europe West, he's only 6%, where I come in at 37%. And then Europe East, 6%, Italy, Greece, 3%, Iberian Peninsula, 3%, Scandinavia, 3%. So you can see the big difference is Great Britain and Europe West. And also the Sub-Saharan African, I have Nigeria, he has Senegal. Now, I do want to mention that my daughters, I have 3 daughters and a son, and 2 of my daughters inherited the Sub-Saharan African. Now, one of my daughters, it shows 1%, I think, Nigeria, and another daughter, it shows 1% Senegal. So that's where the strange part of this comes in, the Senegal. Now, my wife has had her DNA tested. She has 0% Sub-Saharan African. I show a couple percent Nigeria. That's it, Nigeria. Now, my brother shows Senegal, 2% Senegal. And one of my daughters shows Senegal. So before you get to any conclusions, my brother is not my daughter's father. I repeat, my brother is not my daughter's father. And that's shown through DNA. When you look at the DNA results, it shows parent-child for my daughter and myself. And with my brother, it shows it would be a cousin, a nephew, something along those lines. Uh, I also uploaded our raw DNA to a website called GEDmatch. And with GEDmatch, you can play with it a lot, with your DNA a lot more, and do all sorts of things. But one thing it does show you is how much DNA you're sharing. Um and when you look at the amount of DNA that my daughter, that shows Senegal, and myself, we share over 3,500 centimorgans, which means parent-child. And when you compare my brother's DNA with my daughter that has Senegal, it's 1,800 and some centimorgans, which would be like a nephew or an uncle. Well, that's exactly what they are. They're a niece and an uncle. So my question now is, how accurate, when it comes to Senegal, Nigeria, how accurate is the DNA? It's a small percentage, 2%, but is there anyone out there that can tell me why it would show Senegal for my daughter when my wife and I, neither one of us, have any DNA that shows up as Senegal? I don't know. So if somebody could answer that, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks.